Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. So for today's video, I have some spring and Easter Dollar Tree DIYs. We're gonna be making all sorts of really pretty things using Dollar Tree materials and seeing how we can elevate it with the Cricut. Today's video is sponsored by Cricut. A big thank you to them. Really appreciate them supporting my channel. If this is the first time that you are seeing my face, I really hope that you enjoy this video and you stick around by subscribing to this channel, because once you hit subscribe, we instantly become best friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
And please hit that notification bell. YouTube may or may not let you know when I post a video, but just in case they don't, follow me on Instagram and all my other socials, and let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so for this first project, I'm going to be using the Dollar Tree flour sack towels. These disappear for a little bit, but when they reappear, I always buy a ton because they are so soft and they are so big that you can trim these down and actually make 4 napkins out of these or make giant pillows. It's just a really nice size. So I'm actually going to wash this in very hot water with some Dawn dish soap, and I'm doing this because we are going to dye this. Now that I have washed it while it is still soaking wet, I'm going to bring water to kind of a soft boil, and with some RIT dye, I'm not going to do the whole thing because I don't want a super dark color. I'm just going to add maybe a capful of each color. I'm trying to create a custom color, but honestly, I think only really the pink took. So now I'm going to mix that up and I'm going to start to dip in. This looks really cool as is. I should have just kind of done a nice little gradient effect, but I dyed the entire thing. You're gonna do this for 15 minutes. The directions are in the back of the RIT bottle. Make sure you use a fixative afterwards and wash. I'm gonna create a design using Cricut Design Space and my Cricut Maker 3. If you haven't heard of Cricut, it's a die cutting machine which allows you to cut various materials using blades. You can cut vinyl, felt, wood, cardboard. You can also use pens and markers and emboss. For this tutorial, I'm using iron-on, so remember, shiny side down. You want the shiny part, which is your carrier sheet, at the bottom so you don't actually leave your vinyl uncut. You want your vinyl on top. Now I will list every single one of the SVGs that I use, so open up that description and all your information is there. I'm cutting this out, and again, shiny side down, and if it matters, then you mirror. My image, it doesn't matter if he's facing left, if he's facing right, but if you are using font, make sure that you mirror. That's super important. I cut out 4 because I'm making 4 of the little dinner cloth napkin things, and I'm cutting them down. Remember, the shiny side is going to be the side that is safe for your iron or your heat press to touch. I usually just go on the Cricut website and see what their recommendations are for each material. I'm using my mini press, and it says level 2, 15 seconds up top, and then flip it over and another 15 seconds behind, and then you have this super beautiful custom dinner napkin cloth thing, whatever, and you can add as much vinyl as you want. Ever since I saw these little wood cutouts at Dollar Tree, I was obsessed, and I love that they don't have little holes on them, so I knew I had to create something, and funny me, I ended up creating a hole in them anyway. To do this without hurting myself, I used a crate and a very small drill bit. Make sure your fingers are out of the way, and you really don't have to do this. You can just use hot glue for the next step, but I kind of wanted this to look like a napkin holder that I saw on, I want to say Pottery Barn, I'm not sure. I'll see if I can link it below, but here is a hack for you. So I'm actually using a font that is meant for writing, so you're not supposed to cut it with vinyl. So I tried this, I saw this on TikTok, that instead of weeding this out, you kind of just put the whole thing on your surface and then you pull up. And I was amazed because none of it came up. It was my fault because I didn't weld the letters, so there were some pieces that did kind of move around, but look how good that looks for such a thin font. So whenever you have thin font, do it that way. Now, instead of using napkin rings, because I haven't seen them in Dollar Tree for a long time, I'm using book rings and raffia, and I'm going to tie that, or hot glue, whatever you prefer, and then wrap that around. So this is kind of why I say the hole isn't really necessary. You can skip this and just hot glue it onto the little ring, but I'll see if I can link the picture below. I saw it in like one of those sale things on the gram and I really liked how it looked. So this is how I styled it. I love it. One of my favorite things at Dollar Tree are the canvases. They come in so handy, and I still have the old ones. I still have so many of the old ones before they change the logo. I usually use a little upholstery staple removal for this, but this time I'm keeping it easy and I'm just cutting this down. However, I'm being very careful because I am going to use the actual canvas part. Now that I have this, I am going to save the wood, and in Cricut Design Space, this is what I created. Now these are the fonts and the images that I use. They are Cricut Access fonts. And the way that I made this fit my canvas is I basically measured it and created the square on the inside. And then I hid it before I cut it out and use my pen. For this, I'm using my pen. I really wanted this to look like this was drawn onto the canvas, so you could print it on regular paper, but I think having it on canvas looks so cool, and it's pretty awesome that your Cricut can do this and you don't have to waste ink. Now I'm going to secure it in place, and I'm actually using two canvases for this. The smaller one, I put a little greenery on there, a little pizzazz, and I'm going to secure that one in place first so that it doesn't move around and cover my letters. This was a last minute decision because I thought just the top canvas looked a little plain, and then I secured the sides. Now I added some more floral because it looked a little bare. And then those little cutouts, which I love so much, to the bottom. And how cute is this? For this next one, you're going to need 2 of these egg garlands and a Dollar Tree pizza pan. So this is really convenient because it's already strung together, but of course I made my life a little more difficult and I took it apart because I wanted to paint them, but I didn't want to paint them all one color. If you want to make your life easy, just paint them all one color or don't paint them at all. For the pizza pan, I'm going to paint this as well, but I'm going to remove that top coating so that my paint has a fighting chance of staying on. If you don't remove this, and then it's going to chip off. And I'm using just regular white primer. For the eggs that I'm going to paint, I used a rose gold, and this I buy at Michael's. I've used some from Rust-Oleum, but they end up looking more copper. And then I'm using this Cricut Premium Vinyl. It's textured, and while it's not the same shade, it still gives a really, really cool effect. I'm not doing anything intricate because I don't want to have to use transfer tape. So I just did a bunny silhouette, which I could just pull off with my hands and not have any issues. I'm going to put that in the middle of my pizza pan, and this is really dry. I let it dry for a few days so that I don't have any issues. Now it is time for the cool part, and it is putting together our border. If you notice, these eggs have seams, but don't worry about it. We're going to worry about that later. For now, you're just going to need regular string, which we're not going to see, and an upholstery needle. If you do not have an upholstery needle, in the hair section of Dollar Tree, they have a little pack of hair weaving needles. So basically it's 2 sets and string, and it's used for hair extensions, to make clip-ins, sew-ins, all that jazz, but it works very well for crafting. It's the same darn thing. So you can use that as well. I didn't count how many eggs I used, but I did have some eggs left over. I'm going to start with the pink, and I'm going to make sure that the seams are facing out, not up. It's a lot easier to disguise it if they're facing out to the side than up. And I'm gluing This, I was really scared that I was going to have a huge gap, but honestly, I didn't. I did have to tilt one, but it looked really nice, even with that little tilt. I have collected so many Dollar Tree frames over the years, and I'm going to start using them in all sorts of crafts. This one's actually relatively new, and they do come in 8x10 as well. So this project would have been a lot easier had I done a bigger size, but I wanted something compact. So I'm going to take it apart and then remove those little prongs. You want to pull outward, not up, so that you don't mess up your frame. And then you just want to put this to the side because we are going to use the glass. The glass is the star of the show. This is what I'm going to be using. Again, I will link this below. This is Cricut Access Mosaic Bunny, and I'm using permanent vinyl. I'm using permanent vinyl so that if at any point I do have to wipe this down, Windex it, or whatever, I don't feel like it's lifting up. So once I have this, because the middle is basically going to go to waste, I do have a little bonus craft, so I'm going to pull this up without any transfer tape, just that middle piece, and put it on a canvas. I didn't do anything with it because that wasn't part of my original plan, but I didn't want it to go to waste because it's such a cute bunny silhouette. So that's an idea to do with an extra piece of vinyl. This did take a while to weed, but it was very, very easy to get it onto the transfer tape and off of the transfer tape. Probably because it was so thin. This is the easiest way to get transfer tape on. Just peel and fold a piece back and then pull from the bottom and smooth out. To remove it from that, flip that over, and you're going to want to pull downward. But first, let's clean our glass. I'm using alcohol, but you can use Windex. I am going to paint this so I don't want any fuzzies to be trapped underneath. Look how insanely easy this is to pull up and to put on the glass. Super satisfying. After you do this, you can either leave it like this or you can paint it. Now, I didn't have glass paint, so we are going to make our own. It's extremely easy, and you probably have the stuff to do it at home. I'm using Mod Podge and food coloring, both from Dollar Tree, and I'm putting these in the little tray things that they sell from Dollar Tree, and I'm mixing up different shades of the same color just so I have dimension, but you can totally skip this. This is only if you want to be extra. When I do start painting, I am going to start dabbing the color on rather than streaking, but first I want to secure this into my frame so that I am not knocking over my glass. After you've got all of your colors in place, make sure that you let this dry really, really well. And when it dries, it looks like this. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment and let me know which one is your favorite. A big thank you to Cricut for sponsoring today's video, and as usual, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.